Hello my dear friends. You're in the Freedom Force USA channel. In this video, we're going to discuss the most important events that took place during the previous 12 hours. We have lots of very interesting updates to the start according to information we have. During the previous night between the 26th and the 27th of February of 2026, both the Russians and the Ukrainians were attacking each other with significant number of drones. According to information we have, the Russians during the previous night used 187 drones to attack the TH of Ukraine, and the Russians were attacking through the inside T, but not this specific area. So let's discuss everything in details. During the night we received updates that the Russians attacked the city of Chernig. Residents of Chernigov report an explosion in the city. Thick black smoke is rising from the side. The source are saying that was a ballistic missile strike. Another area that was attacked by Russians is the settlement by the name Novarki, which is located in the northeastern part of the Chernigov region. As for this city, we have just a picture here. We can see that as a result of attack, a building was almost completely destroyed. Most likely the Russians discovered that this building was used by the armed force to Ukraine as a temporary deployment point. Another territory that was attacked is the city of Kharkiv. During the night, we received lots of updates. The sources are saying that in the Kharkiv region between 7 a.m. on February 26th and 700 a.m. on the February 27th, at least 13 strikes were made by bombs and at least 28 strikes were made by GAN drones. So, as you can see, the consequences of attack. Here we can see the consequence of attack. The buildings were destroyed. Most likely the Russians discovered as well that Ukrainians were using these facilities as temporary deployment points. Another important area that was attacked is the city of Dnipro. During the night and during the evening, we received lots of videos. Here we can see the consequence of attack. Here we can see probably first seconds after the Russians attacked the territory, very heavy explosions. Something big was destroyed. The sources reported that the Russians attacked this territory and then the secondary explosions were recorded. So which means that most likely the Russians managed to discover something like ammo depot and attack this territory. And then we can see lots of explosions and the biggest wave of attack took place in the southern parts of Ukraine in the Odessa region during the night. Lots of explosions were recorded. This is the city of Ismail. Here we can see the consequences of attack. This picture was made this morning. Some building was destroyed. And furthermore, we had reports of attacks in the area of the city of Chernomorsk. During the night, the Russians used lots of drones. As we can see, lots of explosions were recorded and so on. As we discussed, during the night, we see that the Russians used probably 1 or 2, maybe 3 as their missiles. But the main force that the Russians were using was the drone force. From the other side, the Ukrainians attacked deep inside of the Church of the Russian Federation. Yesterday, in the evening, pro-Ukrainian sources published this picture where we can see the approximate roads of Ukraine drones that were flying. As you can see in the direction of the Sea of Moscow, and during the evening the Russians reported a lot about the way how they were at repelling these attacks. The sources reported that, for example, between the 2 p.m. and 8 p.m., the Russians destroyed 167 drones that were flying through the Bansk-Kaluga, Kherson, Aral, and Tula regions. Later the Russians stated that in the evening they managed to bring down 53 more drones, probably between 11 p.m., probably 8 p.m., and 11 p.m. And this morning Russians stated that they repelled another attack, but this time in the direction of the Sea of Belgard. According to information we have, during the night overnight the Russians destroyed 95 drones. But as for the Belgard direction, the Ukrainians once again attacked objects of energy infrastructure in this area. And when the Ukrainians attacked objects of infrastructure, the Russians reported about power outages and problems with energy supply. In this video, we can see probably the first seconds after the Ukrainians attacked the city of Belgorod with harmless missiles. As you can see right now in front of your screens, a blackout occurred. This morning we will start receiving more updates about the attacks. The sources reported that the Ukrainians during the previous night also attacked the city of Lugansk, more precisely oil refinery of the She. A very big fire was recorded. This is a very important oil refinery that the Russians used for military purposes to supply their forces along the line of combat contact. And this morning, somewhere around 11 a.m., pro-Russian sources and pro-Ukraine sources began reporting that the Ukrainians launched at least 10 missiles of Flamingo type in the direction of the central part of Russia. So most likely the Ukrainians are planning to attack either of the launching site for the Rishnik missile system, or the Ukrainians are planning to move even further in the northeastern direction with the purpose to attack military facilities and the industrial facilities, like the industrial facility that the Kinnons attacked several days ago. We're talking about the plants that produces Iskander missiles. So we believe that during the day we will receive lots of updates from the central part of Russia. We will receive lots of pictures of these missiles and targets that these missiles attacked. So let's wait and see what is going to be next. But one thing is clear, this day, the 27th of February, is going to be very hot. At the same time, the pro-Western media and Western media itself continue publishing lots of updates about the conflict. For example, Foreign Affairs stated that to end the conflict, Ukraine Kiev will have to give up Donbas. Foreign Affairs claims. In the article, the author notes that Ukraine is finding it increasingly difficult to maintain its position. Its resources are depleted, and the prospects for breakthrough on the front line increasingly deemed. Against this backdrop, Russia, on the contrary, maintains a stable military and economic advantage and can maintain pressure. So these are the statements and articles that were published by Western media. Now let's discuss the situation on the ground, and first let's talk about the Zaporizhzhia direction, where the Russians and the Ukrainians continue their offensive operations. As you can see, the map has been adjusted significantly, especially in the north through the northern front line. So this is the situation, for example, by the end of the 25th of February, and this is the end, more precisely the beginning of the 27th of February. As you can see, the map has been adjusted and we have colored some territories under complete control of the armed force Ukraine. And we made these adjustments based on the videos that were published by pro-Russian sources. In this video, we can see how Russians were attacking vehicles, infantry, and manpower of the armored force of Ukraine in the area of the settlements of Tnova and Borova. Here we can see lots of videos of how Russians were attacking positions of the armed force Ukraine. Lots of vehicles, as you can see, were destroyed by the most important during these videos. We can see lots of soldiers of the armed force to Ukraine that were moving in this area. So based on these videos, we have adjusted the map, and we can see most likely Ukrainians managed to capture the settle or recapture the settlement of Tnova. Most likely the Ukrainians managed to recapture the settlement of Sasnivka. Most likely the Ukrainians managed to recapture the village of Nova Alexandrovka. And the Ukrainians are moving further in the southern direction. So we believe that in coming days we will receive additional updates. As for the pro-Russian sources, they say that yes, indeed, the Ukrainians are counterattacking. But the Ukrainians are paying significant price for these counteroffensives. Anyway, let's wait and see what is going to be next, because obviously, according to my understanding of the situation, the Russians were planning to begin the Zaporizhzhia major offensive operation somewhere during the late March of 2026. And we will see whether the Russians are going to do this, or they would be forced to postpone their offensive operation for April or even for May of 2026. Now let's move further and let's discuss the situation in the Konstantinovka direction. During the previous nights, additional changes were recorded in the southern part of the city. For example, this is the situation by the end of the 24th of February. This is the end of the 24th of February, and this is the end of the 27th of February of 2026. As you can see, the Russians during these days managed to improve their position significantly. And we see that the Russians are keeping advancing further in the northern direction. So this is the situation by the morning of the 27th. And it seems that now the clashes are taking place for this micro-district of the city of Konstantinovka between other roads and 20 and 32 and the river of Koets. Now let's talk about the Slavs direction. During the previous night, additional changes were also recorded. According to pro-Ukrainian sources, the armed force of Ukraine managed to improve their position significantly. The armed force of the Russian Federation managed to improve their position significantly to the east and to the east of the settlements of Nikifork and Lipovka. These are the changes on the ground between the dates. This is the end of the 25th and this is the beginning of the 27th. The Russians are keeping advancing and now the clashes are taking place for this part of this huge forest. The Russians are moving not so fast in this area, but probably this is one of the most important directions where the Russians are advancing and are keeping advancing. But according to the pace of the Russian progress on the ground, we believe that the battle for Nikolava will start probably as soon as June or late May of 2026. And probably this is the moment when we can say that the battle for Slavens, the real battle for the city of Slavens, begins as well. As for the northern directions, during the previous 12 hours, we haven't received anything special. The sources reported that the Ukrainians brought special forces in the area of the SH of Sumu. with the purpose to stabilize the situation, and this is a very important signal. We see that Ukrainians have lack of forces, and they're trying to stabilize the situation with the unions that are not responsible for this, and most likely in coming days and months we'll see more updates of this type. Currently, the Ukrainians are using everything they have with a purpose to counter an attack in the Zaporizhzhia region, which obviously can lead to unpredictable consequences to the front lines. Let's say in the Dnepro direction or in the Kupin direction or in the Kharkiv directions as well, and that's it for the short video. The Freedom Force USA channel reminds we condemn any violence in the world. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel, put your likes, join my Patreon, and have a good day. Bye-bye.